With that, I want to welcome a very familiar face here on the Levels Friday Forum, but we haven't been able to really highlight Dom in a long time. Dom D'Agostino is one of our treasured advisors. He's a principal investigator on the principal investigator on our general population CGM study. He's been a part of what we're doing here for going on 3 years, probably very long time, kind of from the beginning. And I'm not sure how many people have the background, but Dom's work was the thing that got me thinking about CGM in the very first place. He's been working on the connection between cognitive health, neuroscience, and metabolic health for a very long time. And some of his work on central nervous system toxicity and how the ketogenic diet can be protective, or at least ketones in the blood can be protective of certain central nervous system toxicity events, was the first study I ever read that made me think twice about diet and about my diet. And that led me to testing CGM. So I want to personally thank Dom for that work. Just absolutely love having the opportunity to work with you. And I'm excited to get a little update from what's going on in your world, what you're excited about with metabolic health.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for the intro. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay, great. Well, being a Levels advisor has really, been amazing experience from many different angles. Josh, I'm so thankful that you reached out to me. I think we met at a CrossFit event. Was that it? Like a while back. And yeah, I mean, so much has happened since then. I mean, with me, of course, but with the company. And it's been amazing to see how such a top tier company can grow and thrive and create a culture for all the people involved. And the team synergy here, this Friday Forum, for example, is just amazing to see this. And I've not been part of any kind of business entity that has been able to do this and maintain it, for years. So, being able to partner with Level has been an amazing opportunity for me because it has helped research on many different fronts. We have, I think, 6 peer-reviewed publications coming out. We got about 3 or 4 already published, a couple in the pipeline, a couple being reviewed that are CGM related, Levels health supported in a variety of different ways. I have the university really has a high bar for allowing me to be sort of an advisor for different companies, right? And I think they took a look at Levels and they were impressed with it, and especially from the context of they were research focused. The education outreach was top tier, and also the people on your advisory board were like such esteemed people that played a big factor. Every year I have to submit an approval for being an advisor, and typically most companies do not meet the bar for that. So I thank you for being such a top tier, business entity that really prioritizes education outreach, and it actually fulfills being able to do research with Levels in a variety of different ways, including, and I'll get to the IRB study that we have kind of ongoing, fulfills the education assignment that I have for the medical school. So I have at least, 5 to 6 different medical students, and they're like at the top of the class, involved in CGM studies, involved in the Allison Hull study, which led to about a half different abstracts that were published at different conferences: Experimental Biology, American Medical Association, Metabolic Health Summit, which I helped co-host. I've gotten 4 or 5 summer fellowships for the students to work on Levels related CGM projects, which is amazing. So I've been able to sort of mesh it and dovetail it into my medical education. And it's also, I think most importantly, it's teaching. I get an opportunity to teach about this in scholarly concentrations at USF Medical School. And it's teaching them about the value of CGM and Levels and the app and using this in a non-diabetic population, which I think is kind of amazing. And also, I have to mention just the networking and the public outreach that you guys do through the blog, and my opportunity to be able to be part of the podcast and to be guest hosting the podcast. So, and then the podcast that I get on, I love the opportunity to be on somebody else's platform and to talk about Levels and to talk about CGM and the insights there, and just to meet with different people. Peter Attia's brother was here like a week or 2 ago, and big thanks to Mike Didinato for setting him up with a CGM, and we both, we're comparing our CGM data and things. So he's a huge fan of, CGM. I'm of course trying to get Peter Attia on board, which he is on board with CGMs. His latest book, Outlive, really talks about that. So, yeah, and I think just really what I'm so impressed with is just the team at Levels, and there's so many people, Josh, you, of course, and then Casey, Ben and Tom and Mike and Stoddy and Azure has been amazing for setting me up to be able to get the data, the Dexcom data set that is now part of 2 or 3 projects or student projects that we are working on, and looking at 24-hour CGM averages, looking at the fasting period, the feeding window, males versus females, age differences, CGM age difference. So there's so many different parameters that we'll be looking at, and I'm excited to get my students involved into this research and to really, promote the idea of using this in a non-diabetic population, primarily for, metabolic optimization, health performance, cognitive performance. And I think like yesterday, I had 2 or 3 calls that were people that were connected with me because I think they saw me associated with Levels. And one was an investment group that was investing in different startups related to health tech. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you guys are really, casting a very wide net and catching the attention of so many people, research scientists, investors, and also I had 2 patients that I talked to yesterday that were, will probably be using Levels and getting CGMs on them for metabolically managing their disorders. So a lot of patients that reach out to me, I'm not a medical doctor. I do not give medical advice, but I steer them in a direction, and the direction usually involves using a CGM. So, yeah, I mean, thank you so much. I mean, you guys have really, partnering with you has changed the direction of my research into the direction that I wanted to go, which is moving the science to human application. And we have a lot of ideas, and we're incorporating CGM into a lot of research proposals we're writing now for the Department of Defense, for NASA, and for other 501c3 foundations and some philanthropy organizations too.
So awesome to hear. Yeah, I mean, I would love to go for an hour on each of those subtopics, but
Yep.
It's just amazing to be able to work together and to advance, do our part to kind of advance the distribution of the work you've already been doing for a very long time. And suffice to say, I think your Instagram was one of the first to really catch the attention of people who are thinking about metabolic fitness, and your sort of like personal tidbits about how you were living a ketogenic lifestyle, but still, being jacked and, being not just being one of those biohackers who's all about the like the mental side of it. So I think there's like a ton that you're doing both on the lifestyle side and obviously on the science side to compel people to try this out for themselves and be excited about it, which is quite unique. So I just want to say thanks for being a partner, not just on the work that we're doing on the research, but also on the distribution and getting onto shows like The Drive with Tia and Joe Rogan's podcast, and the biggest platforms out there. You're like one of the major mouthpieces, which is awesome.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Yeah. I have a talk coming up in Singapore too, in about a month. And one of the things that they want me to talk about is, Levels and CGM to a bunch of, business people in Singapore. So I think that'll be a great opportunity too, to sort of advance the conversation on that front.
Amazing. Well, Don, where would you, just briefly, where would you like to see us focus that you don't see us focusing quite enough yet, whether that's on the product or on some future vertical or something?
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are already, building the app in a way. I've seen the app evolve in a way that makes it more engaging. And from my perspective, from the data that you guys have shared with me, and also the data from the research that we're doing, what I see is that people get on, using a CGM, and then that gives them incredible insight over the first 3 to 6 weeks. And then the use starts to taper off, but they're not engaging with the app as much, probably because they learn so much within that first month or 2 months that they feel that they don't need the app like all the time, which is, super important. The Levels guided plans, the beta, version coming out for the levels guided plans is like spot on, because I think some people will want to use a CGM up front and then be able to use the levels platform to give them more information. And then like once a year or twice a year, or maybe a couple times a year, they'll jump back on a CGM to test things. I'm always testing things, like every week I'm testing something. So having a CGM is sort of invaluable for that experience. But I think, I mean, I was going to say just making the app, you know, doing what you guys are already doing is making that more engaging, to engage the person, create that community. But I think that's where you're going really with the levels guided plans. And then also, you know, CGM becomes incredibly exponentially more insightful when you couple it with other biomarkers, you know, so the development and of different sensor technologies, or just doing, you know, whether it be phlebotomy or blood spot card or saliva or whatever, to take periodic measurements of insulin, HbA1c, and other things, to give you further insight into what the levels data, the implications of the levels data, and to make that actionable. So I mean, everything I just mentioned there, you guys are kind of already doing in one
Super
form
good
or another,
reminders, though.
beta version, or yeah. So I can't, it's hard for me to critique what you guys are doing. You're just kind of on it in so many different directions.
Love it. Well, so as you all just heard, Dom and his team are digging into our IRB data set for the first time, sort of like starting to pull together some associations and research questions, essentially, that we may be able to answer with that data set as we continue to build it, which is really exciting. And then on that topic of adding additional markers, you know, we didn't talk about this in the recent achievement slide, but we are on track with our metabolic panel. So we hit our targets for the since launch of Labs V2 in terms of you know, conversions and number of people. Those were very conservative. We will continue to grow those, and we also want to make sure that the biomarkers that we're pulling in are the right ones. We also have piloted the what do you want to call it, lab visit version, which is quite a bit cheaper. So it allows people, rather than having a phlebotomist come into the home, it allows them to go to a LabCorp location. So lots of stuff. Good reminder that it is really important that we don't locally optimize just around glucose curves. We also have additional markers, and as we work towards that, you know, it's going to be very exciting to see how it improves people's ability to understand their data and use it. Dom, thanks so much. I just really appreciate always having you on the call, and really glad we could highlight your work again here, and we'll do many more of these, I'm sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Dom.